Hello and welcome to this week's discussion on mental health. My name is Lengwe Bobo and I will be talking about burnout. All right. So the reason I decided to talk about this topic is just because I think it's very relevant to the time that we are experiencing right now. And particularly, I was watching a video, a sermon that was titled "Tired on the Inside." Right. And so I think like that's just like a really generalized definition of what burnout is, but just to assist us to just like get to understand what it really means, I decided to Google it. So burnout is a state of emotional, physical and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. So about maybe a week ago, I decided to just go on my WhatsApp status, a bit of a rant, and I was just like, nobody texts me, nobody texts me to like ask me questions or ask my opinions and things and whatnot and whatnot. So I just kind of have to give a background to why people do ask me like different questions and whatnot. So as you know, this is the time of like, Black Lives Matter and just like different political issues going on. And naturally, I'm like pro-Black, pro-African. I will go hard for Black people, and so naturally, I just like continue to amplify the voices, just because I'm more of an advocate as opposed to an activist, because there's certain topics that I do talk about that I've never experienced personally, right? So mental health is just like one of those general topics. I mean, because we all experience mental health, right? Mental illness is just like on a different side. But yeah, so it's one of those topics that, that I've experienced personally. But there's certain other topics that I make myself educated about. Like if I'm going to post about something, 90% of the time, I have to make sure that I've got a bit of background to it. Just like the thing of like racial segregation in the USA, it's been a topic I've talked about for long periods of times. I've listened to other speakers talk about it. So when it came up as this movement, I was just like, okay, I know what I'm doing here. Then there's certain other things that I may have done some minimal research on. Okay. And so what happens is, because I'm trying to encourage people to just understand, just to be able to view injustices, even those that don't affect them, because I feel like it's a global village. What affects you should affect me, and that's not to say that I should be able to just like carry your burden, but I think I should be able to speak out when I see that what's happening to you is unjust. And so that's just like what I do, and to encourage people just to understand all these topics, I just like have an open door policy, like, oh, come to my DM and talk to me about this and ask about this and everything. But this time around, I was just like, okay, y'all gonna educate yourselves, and this has got nothing to do with me. Until a point where I just couldn't be the voice. I couldn't, I just couldn't do it anymore. I was just like, hey, shame, I'm tired. And I think that's something that we're going to experience. So if you haven't experienced it, there's a high likelihood that you will, just because most of us are indoors, right? So the issues that are coming out, the movements that are going on are not new. But I think why they may cause burnout or lead to burnout is just because we're kind of all stuck on our phones, because we're not going out, so we're not doing much. So most of us just like stuck on the internet, and so you're prone to seeing different things, because I just like hit my Facebook and my Instagram app, so I'm not like on them so often, but every time I open them, there's just like a whole new topic, and that's just immediately I see certain headings, I'm drained, and so I'm going to just give you a few steps that I should have followed, but for this particular time I didn't follow these steps, just because I felt like it was very cardinal to just get my voice out. Although I think that maybe the world could have done without my voice, but like, yeah, I just really felt strongly that I needed to keep up with whatever was going on, right? Because my thing has always been like, one thing that people pointed out to me when I'm talking about different topics, they're just like, Like those things are real, yes, but that's so depressing. Like we are always watching and listening to depressing things, and it's very true. But my reasoning behind why I do this is that, okay, firstly, I do monitor myself, but yeah, the reasoning behind all this is just I'm just getting to read about these stories. I'm just getting to watch these stories. These are not things that are directly affecting me, but they're directly affecting somebody else who doesn't have that level of privilege. They can't just like log out or whatever is going on with them. But I think there is a time and place, and I think that's the main essence of this video. There's a time and a place for logging out, because what you come to realize is that over time, if you're just kind of like pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, over time you get tired, you get exhausted, you really get exhausted. And what that does is that if you're going to get exhausted and continue fighting, you just might be reductive. You might start taking whatever fight you're trying to push forward backwards, just because you're not at your A game. I think there's wisdom in recognizing that at this point that will not be helpful, because the kind of open policy that I have limits me from kind of like, if I say something like maybe an opinion I don't agree with, I'm not going hard like, you're wrong, I'm trying to be very diplomatic in the way that I'm saying it, just because I don't want it to be a you against me thing. I want us to just sort of get to a point of understanding one another, and that doesn't mean that we're going to agree with one another, but we're just gonna, but that was something that I was failing to do increasingly, because somebody would say something and I'm just like, well, hold on, that's dumb. And yeah, and my friends have seen that happen, like rants and everything. So you start getting emotionally, physically, mentally tired, and you're just exhausted. Like I'm just exhausted. And the ways to prevent burnout is just like, or maybe if you're already experiencing like how to just like mitigate the whole situation, is firstly to recognize that it's okay not to be okay. I think a lot of us are just like constantly trying to put out this image that we're fine with everything, but it's okay not to be okay, and you have every right to just say, I'm not fine and I don't want to deal with this, because it will, in the long run, it's not good for me. Okay. And it's okay to take a step back. It's okay to shut down your media. It's okay to limit the hours that you spend on social media and just like figure out other stuff to do with your time. Because you have to be able to analyze what exactly may be causing this this exhaustion, and just be able to go to like the root of it and just like stay away from that thing. You have the luxury of staying away, or just like minimalizing how often you interact with that thing. I'm a spiritual person, so I also believe that prayer also helps a lot, just kind of to get your mind focused, meditation, and just like really being intentional on what you're looking at, what you're reading, what you're doing, because and I don't think I was the only person asked this question. I just think it came interestingly to me. One of my friends, because it's like that huge surge of like men are trash and the rep stories and everything, and so I was asked like, so y'all ain't doing anything, you just like you just made noise for a few seconds and you're not doing anything. And for me the thing was, I'm not directly connected to any of these people. There are things I can do, but then there are certain things that if I do, they will not help me be a better person. And that may sound selfish, but sometimes you have to be selfish so that you are fine. Goes back to like the Bible, where Paul says everything is permissible, but like not everything is good for you. And so I think the essence of that question that I was asked was like, why aren't you doing more Like, y'all, you guys just made people like log out for a week. Why aren't you doing more? And I honestly felt very attacked by that, and I actually haven't responded to it just because I don't know how to go about it. I felt very attacked by it because I was like, I tried to amplify things, but I'm not the voice of everything. Because not every experience is mine, and even if I have a certain experience, it doesn't mean that's the only experience within that realm, and I was just like, I understand where this person is coming from, and I understand where it would be important for me to like step up and just like go hard at it. But then I was just like, it's not good for me right now. It won't do any justice for me to try and fight this thing at the expense of my well-being, because if I do that, then in the future, somebody who may need their voice amplified by me won't get that chance, because I will still be recuperating. And that's the thing about getting burnt out, because it takes a long time for you to get back. And okay, that's fine. I feel like you should be able to give that time to yourself. You should be able to say, Lengwe, I'm tired. I will only get back when I'm not. And this can be seen from what I do. Like I'll go off social media for like a really long time, including like my WhatsApp, or I'll be on social media but I won't talk about anything. And I mean, I like to talk about everything, so it's just a bit hard, but I think it's better for my mental well-being to do that, so I think we shouldn't take burnout lightly, because it can have like some detrimental long-term effects if we just like decide to push it to the side. And that's a very critical part of mental health, because I think a lot of people experience burnout, and more so in this period. I also experienced burnout due to the fact that I was doing online classes, and if anybody's done them, they're just like, I feel like they're more challenging than physical classes. Being home just has like its own added responsibilities and everything like that. So to be home and be able to like cover what I'm supposed to cover and be present for school, it was just so much that I experienced burnout on more than one occasion. I had like multiple mental breakdowns. I'm not sure if I had any panic attacks, but like right now of late I started like experiencing like anxiety attacks, just because I'm like, I'm not doing enough. It could lead you spiraling. So I think my main message is just like, be intentional about whatever you're doing, whatever you're feeding your mind, just be intentional about it, because it could just lead you to exhaustion and burnout. And I think a lot of millennials and Gen Z, they don't understand that being on the internet constantly and just like having all these people accessible to you and being accessible to all this, it's tiring, it's draining. And I feel like in the beginning, I just felt like the people were entitled to me, to my time. Like if somebody texts me right now, like if somebody texts me at 15:29, I'm gonna text back at 15:28, because I was just that fast. I would like, so I was like really fast, just like because I felt like everybody needed me. Like if they're texting me, they needed me. If they texted me, they are entitled to my time. But nobody's entitled to your time. You get to pick and choose what's good for you and what you can respond to. And if you can't respond to something, I think you should be able to say, like, I'm not going to respond to this right now, just because I'm not in that space to do so. And that's happened to me with a lot of my friends. That's like I remember one issue in particular. My friend, we had like such deep conversations, so she sent me this voice note. I didn't listen to it for a month, just because I was like, I wasn't in the space to listen to it. And if I had listened to it at that point, I wasn't going to be very productive, and very receptive of it. And maybe my response to it wouldn't have been great. So I was just like, I needed time when my mind wasn't racing, or when I wasn't dealing with so many things, just to listen to it in a calm space, so that when I'm responding to her, I'm the best version of myself. And I think that's really important, that you're the best version of yourself, no matter what you're doing. And that can only be done if you're consistently paying attention to what you feed your mind, and how. Listen to your body, listen to your mind. They will tell you when you're not fine, and then just like put in steps implement steps that will mitigate the whole situation and make you a better person and keep you living long and strong and being productive. And so yeah, that's my topic, burnout, and how it can look in different situations, and just some steps you can take to make sure that you are fine. I don't know if it's really extensive. I will always preach this: talk to a therapist, talk to a counselor, and just like have people to talk to, because it's always helpful.